3 weeks later, many months later.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Come alive, 3 a.m. Come alive. This is when you come alive. It's Tuesday night. We're back at it with another episode of the Adoptee Foster. Thank you guys so much for being here. While you are here, hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. You know, it excites the algorithm. It pushes this video out into the masses. For those who don't know that we're live, definitely share with them and subscribe to the channel so you know when we're live. We're here on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, as well as Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday nights is all about the adoptees, it's all about the foster children, it's all about the adoptive parents, the biological parents, the siblings, everything, all things adoption. We talk about it. You guys know that we say the uncomfortable things out loud. This platform is called the Real Precious Network, so we like to keep it real as possible, and real in a sense where we are giving the hot, honest, open, and transparent perspectives of adoption, foster care, and everything that comes with it. Everything that you're afraid to say, everything that you do not know how to say, we say it. And there's sometimes we don't know how to say certain things. So it's a learning. It's a journey. We say that all the time. It's a journey. So definitely welcome on this journey with us. We're so happy to be here tonight. We have a great show planned for you guys. Before we get into all the specifics, Mr. Leon, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. I am trying to keep cool. It's like 90 degrees right now.
It is. Muy caliente.
Welcome to Hot Take Tuesday, and let's get it started.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Again, I always appreciate you. You don't have to do this and share this platform with me, but you do, and I appreciate you for that. So thank you. Thank you so much. Showing some love in the chat. I see. Good evening, chat. Welcome in. Fishing to Fit. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, sis. Good evening. So that is my sister, my biological sister is in the chat.
Hey, sister. Welcome.
Yeah, she is in the chat, and her story is, very different from mine, but very similar. Her name was actually changed.
Wow.
Her first name was actually changed. And so, when we found her, it was, I know it had to be an explosive, very overwhelming experience. And so, that's what we're talking about tonight. Reunification. We've gone over it before. We've talked about it before. But tonight is extra special because we actually get to see it in front of our eyes and, experience it in real time over here on the Real Precious Network. So again, guys, we are in for a treat tonight. I have one video to show, and it pretty much is a depiction of someone going through this in real time himself. He's so much going through it that he's coming to the internet to help him with this journey. And so, I do want to play this video, and then we are, going to get into our show and the reunification between, our co-host and his sister. So let's get into it. Hola, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for being here. um Good things coming in the future. Good things are coming in the future, so thank you guys so much for being here. Again, share this live, share this live, hit the thumbs up button on the outside of the live chat, just so the algorithm can push it out to the masses. We do need folks to hear the conversation and be involved. I love when you guys are engaged in the chat, so don't stop that. Definitely be engaged. All right, so we're going to get into this video. I came across this video and I thought it was so interesting because a lot of us, when we're adopted and, later, a lot later on down the line, we're adults and we come across this. Do I want to meet my biological family? Is this something that, is this a chapter in my life that I want to open? I don't know what's going to meet me on the other side. And so this guy came to the internet and he asking for some help. Okay.
My family's business on the internet, but here it goes. This is my dad, and maybe he's your dad too. That's what I'm trying to find out. I wasn't raised with my dad. I met him accidentally through Ancestry.com back in 2016. And up until now, I thought that it
Hear about that ancestry.
was just me and my little brother that he has with his current wife. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago, and ta-da! My sister came through on Ancestry.com. We got along great instantly. I confronted my dad. I asked him, like, are there any more of us out there? Bam! He told me about my brother Chris, and Josh, and Ben. Basically, in a matter of a week, I have 4 new siblings, and we all got together on FaceTime. It was amazing. No, there's more, and my dad is aware of them. Fortunately, he's not being very helpful, and he's not helping us find the others. I tried telling him, like, we're not trying to shame you. I'm 43, so I understand that shit happened a long time ago. This is how he looked when he was younger. There's a very discernible birthmark on the front of his hair. Maybe you knew him as Jarriet or Jerry or Jay, but he also goes by Tosh, which a lot of my siblings know him as. If you think this man is your father, please, hit me up, and if you'd be willing to do an Ancestry.com or a sibling DNA test, we'd be down for that. We're not trying to blow up anyone's lives. We're trying to collectively heal from the roots of abandonment and rejection, and I think that we can do this together.
So I wanted to show that video because he said a lot of different things in it. And again, these things that he said were so familiar. One being, in the course of a week, he gained 4 siblings.
Yeah, go from nothing to
nothing to 4 siblings. And there being more. He's coming to the internet trying to get clarity and those who may know who he is and things of that nature, trying to connect the dots. But that is very to have 1 is very overwhelming, but to have 4 is super overwhelming. Okay, when I met my youngest brother, where there's 20 years apart, he was meeting 7 siblings at one time. So he went from being, he wasn't the only child when he was adopted. It was him and his older sister. But when he met us, we were deep, and so that was one thing that I wanted to point out. But I wanted to point out another thing that he said as well. When we go to reunite or find our siblings or find our parents, we're not trying to, and you speak for yourself, but I think that I speak for the masses when I say we're not trying to blow up anybody's life. Like we're that's the furthest thing from our mind, because we don't know what happened. All we know is that there are people out there that look like us. There are people who have the same mannerisms as us. There are people out there that share the same interest as us. And they always say your siblings are your first friends, right? And especially if you grow up with these abandonment issues, if you grow up in a home wondering why you don't look like everybody else. I know 3 a.m. you'll get into it, but you have gotten into it. You didn't look like anybody else, right? And so having those feelings harbored inside and really know where to release them and no space to able to make sense of them. I think a lot of people on the biological side, and we'll get into it, but I think they think that we're trying to impede, on their privacy and things of that nature. And that's like the furthest thing on our mind. But I'll let you get into it a little bit. But I wanted to point that out, that he said that, because I think that's a universal language. I think a small percentage go into it angry, like, oh, I can't wait to find such and such so I can give them a piece of my mind. Like, no, we want the fairy tale, right? Like we want the, oh my gosh, you look just like me. The race, relative race, right? Those are the stories that we imagine. And I know you said that's become one of your favorite shows.
My absolute favorite show on YouTube.
Yes, the relative race. So get into a little bit about what you saw in the video, and then we're going to introduce our guests and have her come to
I
the
think
stage.
I noticed a few different things. Maybe you didn't mention, like, he said that his father like didn't want to help.
Mm,
Like,
yes.
and I think maybe sometimes, like you said, maybe they think it's like we're trying to disturb like what they have going on, but like it's really not like that. It's really um like you said, you're really wanting to know, you're really wanting to see people who look like you. And I'll be honest, like when I met my mother and father, um, it really gave me a sigh of relief.
Mm,
Like it was like monkeys on my back that just were lifted, you know, and and you see it in a lot of reunion stories on TV and like on Relative Race, where like the girl, um, the lady, the lady that was watching her mother on That's My Mama, remember?
yes.
And she
Yes.
was talking about how when she got the call from her brother that they had found her daughter, and she just like burst into this um like sigh of relief, like just all of that tension that she all that guilt that she felt for so long.
Yeah.
And I didn't really burst out like that, but I just felt a sigh of relief when I seen the people that I look like. And then I think sometimes, like, I know for me, when I'm not getting answers and I deserve them because I didn't ask for this, I get, um, I probably do start to get maybe a little bit aggressive with it. I just want to know, I want to know, like, why are you keeping this from me? Like, I didn't do anything to deserve this, right? Like, so, for those that don't know, I have started my journey into trying to find my family members that actually want to meet me. And so there's a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't talk about how, you know, I was in an interracial relationship. So my father is black and my mother is white. And um, both sides, they probably harbor some resentment from both sides. So, I don't really care about that, right? Like I'm just trying to like just put the pieces together and try to mend whatever I can, along the way. That's really my whole goal. And to find out where I come from, to find out medical history, to the most important thing is the medical history because like if the toughest thing you could do is go to a doctor and they ask you what are you allergic to and you say I don't know.
Yeah. It's like you're starting from scratch. You're a grown ass
They
person.
look at you, yeah, they look at you like you're crazy. Like you 40 something years old and you don't know what your medical history is. That's just a piece of what we go through if you don't know this information.
Yeah.
Just for people that don't know.
Yeah. And yeah, that, you mentioned, you deserve these answers. And, a lot of times when you don't get them, you get aggressive. And you know what I always tell you? What do I always tell you? Give it time. You got to be patient because while you know, we feel as though, and we do, we do deserve the truth about our life. We also, in our big age, have to understand that this can be overwhelming for the biological family as well.
Hmm.
So I know when I was searching for my father specifically, because it was easy to find, like, my, I, I would say the process was fairly easy for my mother's side of the family because they lived in Jersey, or they still live in Jersey, right? But my father is in New Orleans. And so I had to go on the ancestry for him. I had to do some digging even, right? And so I'm reaching out to people on Ancestry, and I know that they're, you know, related to me through my father's side. And it was just like Silence of the Lambs. It was like, I know you saw the message, you read the message, there's a red receipt down there, you know, and sometimes I wanted to be like, I know you saw my message, you know, I'm just looking, but at the same time, people now, and my biological father is very private, and I'm the same way too. The person looking for people, right? Very private. I'm the same way too, but when we found each other, it was, we are almost the same person. So, you know, and it wasn't like he was hiding either. But that struggle of, you know, it took me about like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years to find my dad. Wow. Whereas my mom, it was like automatic. It was, you know, I changed my last name on Facebook. The family member that I told you that I have a picture of in my life book, she reached out to me. We've been searching for you. So it's one thing when someone is actually looking for you. My sister was, well, she was looking through her parents' stuff and found us. And
Inspector Gadgets.
Yes, and our family on our mother's side was looking for it. So it's different when they're actually looking for you, because the process, they're welcome. They're saying, I want to welcome you. I want you. I want. But when you go looking and no one is giving you answers, you know, you do still feel that piece of abandonment, because it's like, okay, like, you still don't want me, like, years have passed. Like, are we not over, you know, these family either secrets or just things that people, you know, that they don't want anyone to know. So
right.
You know, what I say to people who are looking, you know, you got to be patient and you got to give grace too, because just like you didn't ask to be in a situation, a lot of people in the biological family don't ask to be in a situation, because honestly, this decision is up to the mother. 90% of the time is up to the mother who was given birth. And so a lot of people don't ask to be in this situation, but you know, here we are, and we make the most out of what God has given us. So, you know, before we go further in the show, this show is about you and your sister reuniting, and we actually have your sister with us tonight. And to me, this is so special. You know, to those watching, definitely cherish how special this is, because this is Leon's real life. This is his real life reunification process journey of being an adoptee. And these are the things that you don't usually get to see. We see it on Relative Race. We see it, you know, on things that we may scroll upon just because people are onto our adoptee content now. So you might get a hint, you know, you might get a whiff of it in your timeline just because you're here with us. You know what I mean? You in the community now, okay?
Right.
Not the normal content, the normal real life experiences that we see. And so, you know, I'm so happy and honored to have you and your sister here to actually share this journey with us and share this experience. But without further ado, Leon, would you like to introduce your biological sister to the viewers?
Yes, I would. I want to welcome my sister Tina to the panel.
Welcome my sister Tina to the panel.
We do hear a little bit of that echo. We'll get it.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
See. Edit these mic settings for a little bit. Let me edit there.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
And guys, put us in the chat. I'm sure this is Tina's probably first time ever being on YouTube. So give us a little grace here for a second. All right, so I didn't hear that. I think we're good. Tina, you there with us?
Yeah, let me see. I can.
I think. Tina, you here with us, love? Did she freeze?
in the chat. I'm sure it's probably for a second.
It's a big delay.
It's a lag.
All right, so I didn't hear that.
Let me try to go back out and come back in. I'll be right back.
Okay. And Tina may have to do the same thing. Tina, you have to remove you from the studio altogether, and then you just click on the link.
Let me try to back out and come back.
Tina, you hear me, love? Let me see. So bear with us, y'all. Okay, this is live, coming to you live. All right, we're gonna get it together because we need this to air for you guys. So what I'm gonna do, Tina, I'm gonna kick you out, and then I'm gonna bring you back in. And I know Leon is probably doing the same thing. I'm not sure why there was such a huge lag there, but we're gonna get it together. Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. Hopefully Tina comes back. I did kick her out of the studio. Maybe it just needed to reset on her end. So I did have her go out. So hopefully she comes back in. Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hey, Tammy.
Here. Some don't want to be found. Yes, family secrets run deep. And unfortunately, sometimes there's nothing we can do to actually undo that, that secret, or get around meeting our family, although there may be things that they don't want us to know, or they don't want us having access to. That's hard. That's definitely hard in an adoptee, especially an adoptee that is just looking for answers, looking for, those people who look like them, that they can relate to just naturally, just being. When you could just be yourself and relate to someone else without having to perform or without having to be a character of some sort in their life. Being siblings with someone, again, your siblings are like your first friends. And so denying access to that. I remember when I was in foster care, I'm the oldest of 7. And when I was in foster care, they're like, oh, we're going to get you pictures of your sisters. We'll get you their names. And it just never happened. The first time I ever heard from my sister was when my sister was reaching out to let me know that she was my sister. And so, can you imagine going that long, knowing that you have siblings out in the world, just like the guy in the video that I showed, knowing that he has siblings out in the world, but don't know who they are,
It's like that one girl on Relative Race. I don't know if I think it's like season 5. She was on the red team, and she had found out, I think she was like, she's in media, or she's like, she used to play basketball or something. But like, she found out that she had like 11 siblings.
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah, so she met her brother, and then like he had like a picture, and ironically, they all had on red shirts in this picture.
Oh, I think I did see that one. Yeah, they all had on red shirts and they were on the red team.
Yeah, and it was not, he said that was not planned.
Right.
They just took the pictures because he wanted to, show them. He wanted to show her. And, imagine going from having one sibling into walking into like 10 more.
That's a lot. It's a lot, especially when our big ages of already having our lives set the way that they are, right? That's something that I had to get used to. I got one sister who live in Maryland. I have another, other sisters that live in, North Jersey. At the time, we had one brother that was like upstate PA at some point. He was in the service, like, having all these siblings in different directions, it's your life changes, and it doesn't change in a bad way. It changes in a way where it's just like, okay, how do I fit my siblings in now? That was something I didn't have to worry about before, but now it's like, okay, I want to spend time with my siblings. Let me coordinate this. I'm the oldest, so it's like, all right, girl, you going? What you got planned? What everybody doing? And I'm like, y'all grown. I know I'm the oldest, but y'all grown. Use your grown brains. But sometimes I think it's, my siblings kind of reclaiming that time of us not growing up. And, if I was a big sibling in a home where we're all in there, I probably would be like second mom, like, you know what I mean? And so I think that's how they just look up to me in that way. But your life definitely it's overwhelming. Like I said, my youngest sibling met 6 of us at one time. Like he was like, all right, you reached out to me on Instagram, then our other brother reached out to me, then we like it was it was crazy. He was like, yo, I felt like I was being bombarded. He was like, I needed to breathe. I didn't know what to do. It was a lot for him. It was an adjustment, and I'm gonna see if my little bro want to come on the show. I want to extend that invitation to him because he's so young, but he's so wise too for his age. I see bright things in his future. He's going to be going to college in the fall. I'm excited, for him. And just against all odds, right? Just breaking those societal, just stereotypes of adoptees or kids that've been in foster care. I'm so proud of him. So, one day I definitely want to have him on the show just so you guys get a little bit of a little taste of, my world and my journey as well. I would love to have all my siblings on my show, but that's their choice and their decision. All right. So Tina, have you reached out to her to see if she's going to,
let me check, see if she,
yeah, because all she has to do is click the link again. But again, if you've never been on the platform, it can be a little.
Yeah, it can be frustrating.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Relative race is literally a race to find your biological family. I've shown some clips on my Instagram page. I've kind of did some collabs in the videos from Relative Race, but it's definitely a good show to watch if if you're in this community. And pretty much you're racing against other teams to find your relatives in different states. Child, you might have to drive an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I love the one where the boy met his father right away. He didn't have a driver's license.
Yes.
And his father was the driver. He got to meet his biological father on the spot, and they looked like twins.
Yes, that was funny.
Really, really good episodes on there.
Yeah, I just sent her a message, so hopefully she'll come back into the studio.
All right, I think I see her here. Let's see. I don't see her. I don't see like a. It's loaded. Oh, there we go. All right, Tina.
Hey.
Yay! It's working. It's working. It's working. Thank you so much for being here.
Having me.
All right. So we have 3 a.m. I don't know how it looks on how you guys are watching it. But we have 3 a.m. and we have our biological sister Tina here on the show this weekend. Again, this is a special occurrence. I'm sure this will be special for you guys to write down in history. And I'm just honored that you chose this platform to do it. 3 a.m. Me and him met somehow through the YouTube streets or Instagram streets. I don't even know. I don't know if you saw me on Lapeep. I don't know. But somehow, some way we met, we linked up and found out that each other were adopted. And he has been riding ever since. And I appreciate him and just being able to kind of sit front seat to his journey. And, he was so excited when I'm reaching back out to my sister, so excited. And so I'm so glad that you're here, Tina. I want you guys to tell us how you got here. How did you get to this moment, 3 a.m. being adopted? And Tina, you were not adopted.
Yeah, and I didn't even find out that I had a brother till I was 13.
So you didn't even know you had a brother?
No, it was really by accident. It was Christmas Eve, and as he doesn't really know, my mom had a really bad drinking problem, and that's how she died. She died from that. And she got drunk, real drunk one night, and on Christmas Eve, she threw the Christmas tree through the window, and she said if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have to give her baby boy up. And I'm like, I don't know, what are you talking about? I never even knew, and I always wanted a sibling, but I didn't. She had two miscarriages, so we just thought it wasn't meant for her to have kids anymore, and I didn't even know I had a sibling.
Yeah, so just to circle back to the beginning, how I found Precious is actually, I think I seen you on the Lapeef network, and I think I seen you talking, and then I was like, oh, she seems cool. I'm gonna follow her. Then I didn't even know you were adopted. Like I just started watching your content, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is right up my alley. Um, and so yeah, when I started coming up, I was very nervous actually because I didn't talk about this like if you were my friend or like if you close to me, you would know and I would talk to you. But like on a platform, no, I wasn't talking about it. So and then I started joining the platform and I started getting more comfortable. And then I actually um started reading a couple of the books that you recommended, and it really opened me up mentally to a lot of the things that I experienced as a kid, and I didn't know that I was experiencing them. Um, and so, yeah, I was adopted. Um, I kind of knew I was adopted when maybe 7, 8 years old or so. My mother sat me down. My adopted mom sat me down, and she was like, "You're adopted." I'm like, "Okay, what that mean? We not going to get pizza or something?" Like,
You're like, okay.
but as you know, when you start to get older and you start to be observant and you start to realize things and you get curious.
Yeah.
And so I found paperwork, but I couldn't do nothing with it because I was in a closed adoption in Michigan. So in Michigan, you can't look till like you're 21, I believe it is. But at 21, I wasn't ready to look. But when I was ready, you know, I don't even know if this place even exists anymore. It was called 1-800 US Search. And so basically, you could pay them a fee and they would retrieve the information that you needed. And so once I got the information, I got my mom's address and I wrote her a letter. I was always a good writer. Um, my English teachers told me that way. And so when my adopted mom said, you should just write a letter. And so I think it was on Easter.
Your audio faded out a little bit. I don't know what happened or what changed, but
Is it better now?
better.
Okay.
And
Um,
before, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I did have to cut you off for the audio thing. But before you go any further, Tina, you said you found out Christmas Eve, right?
Yes,
How old were you when you found out? Because 3 a.m. found out that he was adopted when he was around 7 or 8. How old
13.
you were 13?
Yes,
Okay, so not too far off from when 3 a.m. found out that he was adopted. Okay,
yes.
okay, got you. Because I just kind of want people to visualize, the adolescence into growing into now our big age.
mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so you know how it is when you go, you start searching through stuff, and then you just all of a sudden find a stack of paperwork, and
I never
it
had that
it
experience.
was like it was like I hit the gold mine. Um, and so once I reached out to the company, well, let me go back. So first, I sat down and I talked with my adopted mom. I said, I think like now I'm ready to find my birth family. And
Okay.
she was all for it. She didn't. you know, it appeared that she was not, she wasn't angry or she wasn't upset. So I took that as, I could, move forward. So we went and talked to a therapist,
Mhm.
and he basically was like, "Look, I know what you see on TV is what you want, but a lot of times that's not what you're going to get."
Mhm.
And so he's basically just level setting, saying, "Look, if you get that happy relationship with your birth family, it would be great. But I also have to let you know that a lot of times it's not like that, and so, um, once we did all that, I got all the paperwork. And so then I wrote my mom a letter and I said, I believe that you're my mother based off of these facts. I live in Detroit. Here's my number. Give me a call um, if you want to talk.
Mhm.
So I believe it took her about a month before she actually called. And she called me on Mother's Day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so we talked on Mother's Day. And then, that's how the ball got rolling, and then eventually, I ended up driving to Tennessee to see my parents.
Okay.
Um, and I'm going to tell you, it was probably, besides graduating from college, it was probably one of the best things I ever did. It was so uplifting. It was so liberating
Mhm.
to see people that you look like.
Yeah.
Um, and I know you know that feeling, like you're going through that, as we speak. And so, um, to give people some context, I've found people on Ancestry. So, like, I would search, like, if they say they were a close connection to me, I would like search for them, like on Facebook. And if the name matched the same, I would reach out and maybe, like, hopefully they would reach back out. I mean, I've had one person reach back out that I actually found from Ancestry, and it's my mom's first cousin.
Okay. Okay.
So we've been talking, and Tina has been telling me, like, giving me the story, giving me the history of our family, and so it's been very positive and uplifting just I mean, even if it doesn't go anywhere, like it's still, at least, like,
Yeah.
and I have my sister, so like, if all else fails, like, if nobody else wants to meet me, at least I had a chance to meet my sister, and we're talking and we're communicating, and that's, to me, that's more than what I had before.
Yes. Yes. Now, before we go further, I want to go back to Tina because I mean she came out the gate hot. It was like, look, the tree was out the window, and ta like I'm just gonna lay it all out there on the table. What was your reaction? Because I want to lead up into to where you guys were met, right? So 3 a.m. you gave us
I mean, now, as a result of that, my mother wasn't there that night because my father had her arrested. So,
mm,
and I asked him about it, and he told me the story, and it wasn't why did they kept me and then kept him, and it's just a thing, and I've already told him the story, and I'd rather keep that private. But as far as that, it was hard for him to do what he had to give him up because my brother was named Leon Bates the third. But
wow,
so when he had to give him up, all the thing he asked is that he keep his first name. So he always said they knew they'd changed the last, but it was hard for him because my mother wasn't there when they gave him up. My dad had to do all this. It's not something that he wanted to do. It was just no choice.
wow,
Because when my brother was born, he was born premature, and See, we're not that. We're kind of. I think we're like 15 months apart, something
Oh,
like that.
who's old? You're
I'm,
older?
I'm older. Yes.
Okay,
I,
but not
I,
by much. We're like, what is it? Irish twins? What is it? Irish
I was born on St. Patrick's Day in '76. And he was born on 4th of July in '77.
Wow, wow.
As a
And so
result of that,
they share the same mom and dad.
yes.
Okay, okay.
So because she got pregnant so early, he didn't get the proper nutrients that he needed from her because she didn't have that much. So some, I don't know if he had still has some, but some of the like stomach issues and everything because he didn't get the proper nutrients. So when he was born, he was in the hospital for a few months.
Mm,
So so and then when he came out, he was still kind of sickly and. It was just too much because it was two infants. It was like it's too much for my mom, and she wasn't doing the right thing by him. So my dad thought that was the best decision was for him to have a good normal life was to do what he had to do. But
and so,
and the thing about the letter, I never knew anything about it. I knew he was down here, and I had even because I wasn't living with my mom, but I had happened to call her on that night when he was there at her house staying the night, and I asked her, could I talk to him on the phone, or even could I even come by there? Now I don't know if this is true or not. She told me that my brother didn't want to see me and didn't want anything to do with me. So it
I
took me a
definitely didn't
while to
say
get
that.
over that, and so during the years I mean, this is not the first time that we've talked. We've been talking on and off for years, and it is sometimes you know it's hard. At first, it's hard to believe that he would even say that when he came here to see his family. So I was kind of upset about that because I wanted to meet my brother.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely didn't say that. I wouldn't have drove 13 hours just to
Yeah.
meet,
See, and the
not
thing
be
about
able to
it is,
meet everybody.
he was a habitual liar. He would lie any chance he would get. So in a way, I didn't believe it. I thought, well, maybe he just wanted, to spend time with our parents. That's why I took it as a fact.
Yeah, I mean, I really was trying to meet everybody that I could that was there at the time because, I mean, you know, she gave me some excuse and I was like, all right, I'm just going to make the best of what I can while I'm here. And yeah, we have reconnected through Instagram and we've been talking. And eventually, I do plan to drive down to Nashville again.
I muted Tina just so it
Okay.
wouldn't. So hopefully it won't pick
Yeah.
you.
So eventually, I do plan to go back down to Nashville again and see Tina. And hopefully, we can find some family members within that time, and see where it goes, right? Like we are running into some roadblocks, but I'm not going to let that deter us, from at least having a relationship with one another, because if all else, if they don't want to meet us, it's their loss because guess what? I had a great life. It was the best decision my dad ever made. My parents, I mean, you hear the way that I talk about my mom. Like she is the gold standard. Like,
Mhm.
um, and I just was trying to um, dot the I's on my story,
Yeah.
and that's really what I'm trying to do.
Now your story is a little bit different because usually, and I said it earlier, like 90% of the time, it's the mother actually, giving or having the child be placed for adoption or in foster care. And in
Hmm.
this in your story, in this instance, it was actually your dad pretty much saying like, this is a lot. I mean, your mom is going through what she going through,
Hmm.
being now how long was she incarcerated for a long time, or was this just a
It was it,
stint of time?
he said I'm gonna let her teach her lesson because it was it's just been a long. Things just kept happening, and ever since we moved back down to Tennessee, because we moved because of his job, and it was just one thing after another, and her drinking was getting worse. So he said that he was just going. She called that night, but he didn't answer. He said, "I'm just going to let her sit in there overnight," and you know, and then the next morning he got up and went and got her out.
Dose of reality.
Now, do you remember growing up? Like, do you remember when your brother was, because you guys weren't too far in age, but he, 3 months you stayed in the hospital. Do you remember growing up without him? Like, did you have questions about him? Did you want to see him? Was that ever like a topic of conversation for you growing up, Tina?
I never even remember even having a brother, because when they gave him up, I think I was about, when he was born, I was a year and a half. So I think I might have been like 2 or 3. So I don't even remember him at all. And I hate saying that, but it's the truth. And some kids don't remember that at that age. But I wish I could remember him even being there with me, but I can't.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like we had this conversation before. Um, I would say anything under 5.
Yeah,
Like,
I was one of those too. I didn't remember my brother, and I'm older than him, but we have like the same situation. I'm a year and 2 weeks older than him.
hmm
And so like he remembered our mother, what she looked like. I'm like, when we reunited with her, like
hmm
you should, that pretty much was my first time ever laying eyes on her. Like, I don't remember what she looked like when we were, younger, but he does.
hmm
I find that interesting how our brains, wired themselves, because I'm here and now, out of sight, out of mind. Like, someone would be like, Michelle, you don't remember? I'd be like, no, I
My
don't.
brother that I grew up with, he was like that. He would be like, you don't remember when we used to go over such and such house? I'm like, no.
I
I was
think,
like, he would be like, he would remember like details. Like he'd be like, we had some shrimp and we went over here. You had on this, I had on this. I was like, I don't remember none of that. But
yeah, sometimes I think something's truly wrong with me. I'm like, is it, no, seriously, like I want to get deeper into studies about that, because there are
hmm
studies about how, we have certain defense mechanisms about us that are just so natural to us, but it really stems from, abandonment. It stems from being placed with strangers. It stemmed from going through stress. I mean, you were a preemie, you were in the hospital for months. I've seen that. Like, my sister had a baby that was in a hospital
and
for
I
months.
didn't even know that till now. Like I
See,
never knew
see,
that.
like,
Yeah.
so your body, not only were you, malnourished, and you weren't like, my mom was on drugs, so we were born with drugs in our body, right? And so we were born with withdrawals and things of that nature.
hmm
We don't realize how those things really, you didn't talk for a while, right? Like, we don't realize how our brain protects, tries to protect us while we're living in moments and
hmm
time and seasons and phases. And I think that, a lot of us do. It's almost like, throw away the key type of thing. Like, I feel like we have those type
hmm
of minds. Like, I don't, negativity doesn't stay long, or like, again, if it's out of sight, out of mind for me, or, I can be done really quick. Like, we talked about that. Like, all right, we could be, all right, see ya, I'm gonna go on my life. Like, what I mean? Like, we could do that. And I think going through these experiences and having, I always call adoption a transient lifestyle between foster care and adoption, especially myself, because I went through a couple of foster care homes before I was adopted. And so it's a very transient, a coworker was asking me today, like, how was that? Like, how was going from house to house to house? And I was like, it was a normal. Like, what do you, I don't even know how to, I left one house and I went to another. Like, it was just the normal, you know what I mean? And so with our stories, yours differs a little bit, because you were adopted from your foster home. Like, your parents who adopted you had you in foster care with them, right? Am I getting that right? Leon?
See, that's what I don't know.
Mm,
I'm actually in the process. I don't know how long it'll take for them to send me the paperwork. So, like, I'm going back to Detroit in a couple weeks. So, I think when I come back, I'm going to fill out the paperwork
okay.
to have them send all of my paperwork and
paperwork
actually
and
try
I
to get
try to get
my
Hold on.
original
my
birth
original
certificate.
birth certificate.
I
Right?
just wanted to add in that I didn't really know that he was in a foster home. What my dad did is he dropped him back off at the hospital where he was born at. So I don't know if he was born at the same hospital. And when he took him to the hospital, he asked him to make sure that he goes to a good home.
I don't know. It's a
I don't
little
know.
hard to hear me, 3M. Did you get all of that?
So,
So
can you mute her real fast? Yeah, there you go. So she said that she doesn't know if my dad took me to a foster care, but he took me back to the
To the
hospital where I was born. I don't even know if that hospital still exists anymore. Like,
Mm. Ours was rebuilt. We were
hmm
Jersey City Medical Center, and they rebuilt it. It's beautiful down there now. Jersey City don't look like it used to when I was coming up. It was a hood. Now it's looking like mini New York down there. So I wanted to ask Tina when Lee.
when we
Ooh, hold
oh,
on, let's
hold
go back
on,
on
back on
till I finish asking the question. So when Leon reached back, when he reached out to you, and you're realizing, oh my gosh, this is my brother reaching out to me. What was going through your head? What were your emotions? What was your mind frame when that was going on?
I was excited, and I tried to answer everything he can. He during that time, I think he was having health issues, and I was trying to tell him everything that was, you know, that I know that's in our family, which I'm in the same boat as him. I grew up not even knowing either side of my family because of the racial thing. So each side didn't want anything to do with that. So and it was I try. I was excited. It's just I don't know. It's kind of like a distance thing, which I can understand because he didn't get what he needed from mom and dad. So and it's hard to trust somebody when you can't get the truth from anybody, and you don't know whether your siblings going to tell you the truth. But sometimes we don't know. I mean, we're in it just like you are. I mean, we're in the dark, and we're being we don't know anything. And and I felt bad because I know he probably had this thought to his head like, why did they give me away to keep her? And I felt bad for him, and I tried to try to get in contact with him, but he has stuff going on in his life too. But right now I really want to get close to him, and it's just freaky because he looks so much like my dad. It's unreal. And yeah, and then I look like my mother. I don't know if you showed you a picture of my mother, but my mother had blonde hair, and and my face looks just like her. So I look like my mother. And she looks, it's just it's freaky.
Was it? I think
I think
don't think it was last show. I think it was the show before that where we showed the picture of you looking just like your dad, Leon, and then
hmm
I showed a picture of him. Yeah, y'all look just like twins, twins, and Leon looks just like his father, who was Leon as well, right? Because you're the
hmm
third. And I think that was very, whatever avenue your dad took to say, do not change his first name. I think that is cool that was honored, because we talk about that on here all the time, how the child is already going through an identity crisis. I told you my sister's in
hmm
the chat, her first name was changed. And so, it's almost, they say reunification is the goal of foster care, but once you get adopted, it's like all the rules just change. When you get adopted, the rules just change. So I think it's wonderful that they respected the fact of keeping your name, because you're the third, and that means something to your family, and that's just a little bit of piece that you will have of your family that could have been stripped away from you just like that,
hmm
without your permission or anything. And so I'm glad that that was still the case. Now, Leon, how does it make you feel knowing, you were adopted in the foster care system and your sister, that wasn't the route for her? Like, were there any, my honest, open, and transparent, I'll be hot. Was there any feelings towards that? Because I'm gonna be honest, if it was me, we have a sibling, and we have one sibling that just didn't go through the experiences that we went through, and we like, how come she got to stay? Like, you know what I mean? How come, there she was never put in the system, and what, and she wasn't even the oldest. Like, you know what I mean? She doing like she's like 4 or 5 down at the line.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure, being the oldest, being the first child is like, oh my God, what do I do? As a mothers get overwhelmed, then throw on a drug problem, and not really having the resources.
Mm-hmm.
But how did that make you feel? Being the sibling that was, and let's take being raised well out of it, your parents being good parents, like that we want to say that's a given when adoption is the choice. It's not always a given, but let's just put all that aside, right? How did you feel as an individual knowing that you have a sibling that got to stay in the biological home and you were replaced?
As I got older, I did wonder, like why, you always think about the whys, the hows, and the whos, right? You think about what situation dictated, you know, what situation where they said, "Oh, I had enough," this is beyond what I'm willing to deal with, and actually put you up for adoption. Yeah, I always, because I don't look like anybody in my family, so knew, I always kind of knew, but then when you hear people say it and you're like, am I adopted or are they playing? Like, what does that really mean?
Right.
And then when I found out I had a sister, I was very excited actually, because I grew up, you know, rest in peace to my brother, but I grew up, I loved him, but like we just did not have that connection. Like, we would do anything for each other, right? Like, but like we just didn't have that sibling connection, like, or maybe, just we just didn't connect in that way, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it was very frustrating because I grew up around a lot of people that had multiple siblings, like my neighbors across the street from me. It was 10 of them. Yeah, and they was doing stuff together all the time, and I just I felt sad because, like, I had a brother that didn't want to be around me at times. I had a brother that wanted to be around his friends more than he wanted to be around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought something was wrong with me. Like, but then as I got older, I just learned that we couldn't build the connection, never built the friendship, was not really there. We hung out a few times, but like when we were around each other, it felt like more like we were like roommates instead of brothers.
Yeah.
And so, um, and I say that to say, you know, there's a lesson in everything that you go through.
Yes.
And I don't want my actual sister to go through the things that I went through, and I want to build that connection with her. I know it takes time. I know it takes, for us to learn and to trust each other. That's a given. But to answer your question, yeah, I definitely felt a way, especially when I knew that I had a sister, and I wondered what it would have been like, if I would have grew up with her.
Yeah. Now, I want to, and thank you for that, Leon. Thank you for being honest about that, because, I think that we long for that. Like, we long for that connection. Like, I think if I could sum adoption up in one word, I think it too, actually. Truth and connection, right? That's
Hmm.
all we want. We want truth and connection. And we talk about ways of actually achieving truth and connection in our adoption realm of the world, because we make up about, I think, 2% of the children in on Earth that are adopted. I wanted to ask Tina, because she made a comment about not really, like, you were in the family, but it sounded like neither side of the family was there for you. So you stayed in the family. However, it was almost like you had the feelings or the placement of an adoptee, because adoptees, like, we don't know our place. Like, it's like, these are strangers. We don't know how we fit in with them. But it seems like you were in the family, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like you really didn't know your place. And I also want to kind of, extend that to, was it the biracial, was being Black and white a factor in that for you?
Yes, it was a factor. I did not meet my grandmother, which is my dad's mother, until I was 23 years old. And the only reason is because I constantly asked my dad, I want to meet her. I had never met her. And so he got me a bus ticket and we went up there and I met her. And it is the racial thing. On my mom's side, you might as well just say they practically just didn't want anything to do with her because she was with a Black man and she had a child with children. I didn't know about my brother. They had Black in them. So they were together for 15 years. So I didn't get to meet my grandmother, which is my mom's mom, till I was almost 15, 16 years old. And some of the people and even when my mom passed away, because she's from Kentucky, and in Kentucky where they live, they are so prejudiced. And when I called them to let them know that she had passed away, they didn't even want to talk to me. So, I know how he feels when he wants to know his side of the family, and I still to this day want to know them, but they just don't want to talk to him. It's the color.
That kind of like breaks my heart in a little bit, because as much as I could tell you to be patient, Leon, as much as I could tell you, time and things of that nature, you're dealing with an element that I didn't have to deal with. There is no biracialness in our family. Now my brother got adopted by a woman, I believe she's from Peru, and so he know how to speak fluent Spanish. People think he Dominican, but we didn't have biracial, like, that wasn't an element of our story. And that's why I love that Leon comes on here, and I love that we're having this conversation now, because while our stories are similar, they're different. There are elements of our story that make them very different. And so, I couldn't imagine going up against that blockage, right? Someone said that roadblock. Someone says, yes, don't let the roadblock stop you two from seeing each other and getting closer. And I'm sure that it won't stop you two, from doing that in due season. I believe there are 5 seasons. There's fall, there's spring, there's summer, there's winter, and then there's in due season. So in due season, you two will connect and you'll be in person, maybe go for a movie, go for a walk, whatever. But it's getting, beyond extending that family tree. And if you're in a dynamic where your mom's side of the family, who happens to be, the white part of your family, don't even want to speak to you because of your race, and then you're not really meeting your paternal, grandmother until a later time in life, it's almost like you know what it kind of feels like to be adopted, but you're still the biological child. And so when Leon talks about how he feels about being, placed for adoption, it seems like you kind of had those like similar feelings too, because it's like, I'm here with the family and I don't know the family, dude. Like, what more do you want from me? Like Tyrese said, like, so I can understand where there's a disconnect. It's not a disconnect because I don't want you to know anything. It's a disconnect because I barely know anything. And that has to be a difficult place and season to be in, where it's just like there was no fault of your own. You're here through your mom and dad. They obviously 15 years, that's a long time. So they obviously had love for each other. No matter what kind of love it was, they had love for each other, where they produced two children, one being placed for adoption and one staying in the relationship in which you feel the same symptoms of an adoptee as well. And that's why these stories, again, while they're so similar, they are very different, because I'll never know what that feels like. I'll never know what that battle is like.
Yeah, because
sorry. Okay.
Because when I was asking my mother when she was living, my biological mom, and I was asking her about siblings and family, she was like, "Well, it probably wouldn't be a good idea um, if you went and seen them." And I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Mm.
And she's like, "Well, they are kind of on the prejudice side."
Oh, so she told you up front. She didn't
Hmm.
even want you to be surprised. Which,
Well, she was protecting me. She
right.
was basically saying, don't put yourself in a situation where you can get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I took advice. And so, I actually met my dad's mom, and I met our auntie, which is my dad's sister. But like we've been reaching out to her, and like I told you, like she called me like at 2:30 in the morning the other night. Like
Mhm.
obviously I'm not answering that because I'm in La La Land.
Mhm.
So um, I'm gonna try to call her again. I hope that she answers. I would love to see her again. When I'm back in Detroit, I'm going in 2 weeks. So hopefully, she will have a change of heart. But like I said, if nothing comes out of this, at least we have each other, and that's more than what I had, before that. So
Now, other than your dad's sister, who you hopefully want to see. Now, you say your adopted mom came with you to see your dad's mom,
hmm.
right? Am I getting that
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Okay. So which I think that that's beautiful as well, that your adoptive family is open to meeting your biological family, and you would think that that would be the case in this thing called adoption, but it's just not. There are some adoptive parents who just don't want to have anything to do with the biological parents, which to me, like I said, like we in this thing together. Like it's a team sport, right? Like
Hmm.
without you I wouldn't be here, without you I wouldn't be here, so we're all in this together. Who in your family, and I believe your sister would be the closest relative to you in your family, but is there someone in your family that you do, really, really want to meet, and you have been met with opposition, or are you on the path to meeting the people that you want to meet in your family?
um, I mean, I've met my sister, my mother, my father, my auntie, and my grandmother.
Okay.
Um, and let's go back a little bit. Like we were talking about, they were so they were so happy, or they act like they was happy to see me.
Don't say
Um,
act. We can't assume, let's just say that they were happy. But you said act. Why do you say that? I don't want to tell you what to say. I don't want to do that. Why do you say that they acted like that they were happy? Because obviously you felt a feeling to say that.
they gave the impression like they were happy, but their actions after that did not display. Because like if you haven't seen somebody in a long time, you're going to try to make sure that connection is good. You're going to try to make sure that you know how sometimes you don't, like if you have an old friend that like you have an old friend you went to high school with, and you're like, oh, I haven't seen you in a long time. Let's get together, and then after that meeting, you keep calling them and keep calling them, and they're not responding. Well, guess what? I'm gonna stop calling because it's we are extending an olive branch that is not being accepted, and the olive branch can only be given so many times before you cut it off. Especially from my side, like, um, and I understand it probably was a lot, or maybe they didn't know how to handle, you know, having someone like back in their life again, and um, and the crazy thing, I don't know if you know this, Tina. Grandma lived literally 2 miles from where I grew up in Detroit. You're on mute. You're on mute, Precious.
I'm gonna take I was saying I'm gonna take Tina off of mute because she raised her hand. I want her to give a chance to respond to what you said. But living 2 miles, I think that's very
It's wild.
It's wild, but it's very it happens a lot. Where those who were adopted or in foster care, like my brother said, he used to see our mother down the street,
Wow.
while he was at his foster care home, and I'm like, again, how do you remember what she looks like? So being in close proximity, I don't think I think that foster care agencies don't they know that our awareness, we're not putting things together like adults are, and so they can be down the street from us, and in our minds it's, again, out of sight out of mind. If I don't know you, if I've never met you, if I've never like Kiki Palmer said, I could be walking down the street, I wouldn't recognize a thing, like, and that is the truth, because as kids, we're just kids, we don't know what's going on around us.
Exactly.
But then when we hear these truths, like 2 blocks away, we're like, what? Now that we know, we've been able to read MapQuest and we know what the GPR, we're like, wait, what? So I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna let Tina go, but that's interesting.
And what's so crazy is that when I went to go see my grandmother, I was there for a week. And I don't know if he still lived there, but it could have been any time that I could have seen him and might not even know that he was my brother. And then, he has been found out and he's been told. Now, my grandfather, I was always told that my grandfather had died, which was my dad's dad, which he had left my mother when they were kids. And an investigator, I don't know if he told you this part, but an investigator had sought out to find the rest of my dad's family because he had passed away. And I didn't even know that he was alive. And all this time he was living in Wisconsin. And so we have 2 other uncles that we don't know. But I just now found their address, which I'm going to send them to him later on. We had 2 other uncles, which would have been my dad's 2 other brothers. And I had just found that out. And I tried to get the lawyer to give him the number. I don't know if they just don't want to be in contact with us, because I gave him the number and I never heard it. So, I've been trying all my life, trying to get, on both sides of the family. I just don't get any.
Tina out here moving like an adoptee. I mean, it's crazy. She out here moving like we are, like Inspector Gadget, lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, you don't hear these stories. And again, I'm so grateful and thankful that you both are on here, because it's almost like, we could listen to stories like this all day, every day, because they're real, for one, and they're from 2 different perspectives, but similar, all in the same. Like, you know what I mean? You're 2 individuals living your life, but going through similar experiences. And unfortunately, you didn't get to share that together. But fortunately, because I think things happen for a reason. Just like me meeting my biological father at the age that he is, he's like, I'm so grateful that you came into my life at this age. Okay, I could have been the brat. I could have been the little snotty nose, like little girl that probably got on his nerves if I would have been raised with him. But he's like, in this age that I'm in, you know, I'm so grateful that you came into my life. And so, you know, we can cry and do all the things about the time that we didn't have together, but that's why this time it is so crucial for the both of you, because you get to make up that time, right? You can't get it back, but you do get to make up that time of, okay, well, let's go look for Uncle so and so together, or let's plan a trip. Like, I'm going to New Orleans in a couple months and it's going to be a family reunion. So now I'm going to be open to a lot more family that I've never met before. And this will only be my second time seeing my biological father, although we talk every day, you know. So these stories, while they're very similar, it's like I can't get enough of hearing them, because it's like, wow, on our side of being the adoptee, we have all these thoughts in our head when you have a biological sister that's pretty much going through the same thing. You know what I mean? And we think that, oh, well, they got it so much better, or they, you know, got to stay with mommy and daddy, or they, you know, where they may not have had the best, you know, Tina may not have had the best childhood growing up. And that you being placed in a home where you do have two parents who can, you know, commingle in parenting and raise you and show you different experiences, you know, how, you know, and that's why people say, well, y'all should be grateful. And we are grateful, right? We are grateful for, you know, being raised in a home where people can love us and things of that nature. But it still doesn't take away from us wanting that connection with our biological family, no matter how good, no matter how bad or how ugly it is, we still want it. Like, it's not going to go away. Most people do. I'm not going to say everyone does, because again, our stories are a lot similar, but they're also different. And there are some, like someone said in the chat, some people don't want those connections because they have those family secrets. Leon, did you think that, you know, when people weren't getting back to you, you know, because you share with me, you know, that folks thought you were non-existent, like you was Casper out here. You you was going to glory. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's a waiting game, right? You know, it's because it could be a lot. You know, I could probably see that I would be overwhelmed if I was receiving that information. You know, be like, what? I got a nephew, and I ain't never heard of you, or I got a cousin, or you know, and so I'm going to take your advice. You know, I'm going to be patient and just, you know, one day at a time, and one conversation at a time. Um, you know, and, you know, try not to be so, you know, when you get them notifications from Ancestry, you'll be wanting to check it ASAP.
You be all over it. Hold on now. A hint.
Yeah. So, I mean, it can, you know, it's in a way it's frustrating, but in a way, you know, it's like you gotta try to put yourself in their shoes if you're receiving that information, because, um, and then there's another thing, you know, there's the truth. Like, what is the truth? Like, what is your actual feelings towards it? Like, because we didn't ask to be born into this type of dynamic. Like, we are just here living our lives, and we are trying to mend the pieces of our lives that we didn't know that we had.
Yeah.
And when you have people that are angry or upset at people that either you don't like, or, you know, you feel some type of way about, you know, we didn't ask for that. And, um, you know, we're going to keep trying, we're going to keep digging, we're going to keep working, we're going to keep putting in the work, because that's what it takes to really, you know, mend, those things that happen to us, and um, our parents did do enough to help us,
Mhm.
and you know, and when they were living, I was always trying to get the information, but they would always, bounce the ball like a check. It was just going every way but in the hoop. And um, you know, and so we just got to do what we can while we're here. Like we can't worry about people that don't like us because we were born by, we were in we are products of interracial relationship. That's not, I always felt like, you know, I never disliked certain people just because of the way they look. I grew up that way. My parents raised me that way. So like I don't look at it like that. But there are people that still have those values, and they want what they want. And, if they don't want to be a part of our lives, then okay,
Yeah.
see ya.
And that's the thing, like I said, with me giving you the advice that I give, because I can only give the advice that I wish someone gave to me that I had to learn throughout the journey, right? And
Mhm,
so, or like earlier, like I was saying, I could tell you to be patient, I could tell you to just stay the course and give people grace and things of that nature, but in this situation, we're dealing with something I've never dealt with before. And you're all I can really do is pray that God changes hearts. Like it's hard to change somebody's heart. It might be all
mhm,
right. It might be a little easier to change somebody's mind, a little bit, but it's hard to change a heart. And so, in that aspect, all I can say and all I have for you guys are prayers, like real prayers. Like seriously, I know we joke around on here a lot, but these circumstances call for people to intercede on your behalf, because you're dealing with something that's bigger than you. You were born into it. Both of you were born into it, and I couldn't even imagine not being an interracial woman. And let's just say I'm in love with this black man, and not being able to bring him home to the family or introduce him to my grandmother or
mhm,
whoever, because their heart is a certain way. And I don't know any of them personally, but just hearing you both of you speak, especially Tina, you know I that's a heart issue. I think we all start out loving one another, I honestly do. But also, if you're not commingling with one another and you only know your culture and your race, um you're gonna look at everything else as like other, right? Like
mhm,
they're over there and we're over here, type of situation. And y'all being smack dead in the middle of it, the product of a white woman and a black man.
mhm,
I couldn't give you any personal advice from that, other than I continue to pray for you all the time, when you share your story with me, because whenever you share, that's one detail that I don't say, well, Michelle, remember, he's biracial. I'm thinking like, oh, it's the adoptee experience, like, patience, like those things go a long way.
mhm,
But there are roadblocks that you neither one of you asked for. Neither one of you said, yes, I want this white mama and I want this black daddy and I want y'all, to love each other and then have us. You don't ask to be in the circumstances that you are. So Tina, I'm going to bounce back to you. Now that you and Leon have met, where Leon, you're in Maryland right now, I know that. Tina, where are you? Are you in Tennessee? Are you in Michigan? Hold on. Oh, there we go. Say it one more time, I'm sorry.
your connection
I think the
is
connection is, yeah. Dang, we were doing so good. We were doing good. I think she's saying Michigan.
no, they live in Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee.
Mhm.
Tennessee. Okay. I was gonna ask you, what is the? Can you hear us now, Tina?
I can hear the feedback a lot now.
Tina, we might have to kick you out one last time. Elaborate everything, but come back in. Make sure you click that link because we're gonna close the show out in a little bit. But I want to get your closing from the studio. All right. Hopefully she comes back in because I want everyone to hear closing remarks. I just wanted to ask her one more question, and then we're gonna get out of here. This has been awesome, guys. If you've been enjoying it, definitely put some hearts in the chat, fire emojis, everything, because I could listen to these stories all night. I pray for this moment because they both needed this closure. This is her husband, and I love her so very much, and she's the light of my life. We may have to have a segment of those, and I know Tina is not adopted or foster care, but again, she kind of went through psychologically things that we have gone through. But I want to have someone on the show that maybe is in a relationship or married to someone who is a adoptee or foster child, or have been in the system, because it's a different dynamic, and again, we need truth and connection, right? And I think that those who are coupled with those who have been adopted do find the connection a little bit different because they're very conscious and aware of their partner's past or their upbringing, trauma. From Trees with Love says, this is so good. Thank you both for talking about your journey and sharing with us. Keep building and getting to know one another. Yes. I had my biological brother on before I did the adoption content. He was actually on the men's panel, and he got so much encouragement from those in the chat, pretty much saying, hey, build that relationship with your father and, keep this going. And, it's great when others can encourage you because it's great. Okay, I think we're I think there's still a little delay. I'm going to mute Tina really quick. I don't know if it happens when I mute her or if it's just a connection thing. I don't know. But I definitely want to get in some closing remarks. And oh my goodness, I had a question. I feel like it flew out of my head. We were talking about pretty much you guys. Oh, that was my final question. Tina, my final question to you was going to be, now that you and your brother Leon have, reunited and gone through this reunification process, because again, like you guys said, this isn't your first time communicating and getting that relationship going bit by bit. What does the future hold? Do you guys have plans to meet up? Is that going to be something that happens in the near future? Because we want the biopic. We want all the footage. Let me see. I'm trying to unmute her.
Yeah, I want to get close to him.
I think you just muted yourself. Hold on.
StreamYard.
We're good.
StreamYard.
Oh no. Hold on. Let's see.
Well, I'll go.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I plan to actually drive down there. Well, I got to investigate how long the drive is first.
Tennessee.
Yeah, to Tennessee. And so yeah, we've been talking, so we're gonna spend time, building that connection, and try to find people, that want to meet us, and the ones that don't, hey, they're lost. Like I said, we're gonna do this thing on our terms, and we're gonna meet the people that want to meet us, and just, live this life the way that it should be, without all this prejudice bull crap.
Okay. And Tina, I meant to ask you too. Do you have any kids? Because I know Leon don't have any kids. You know what? I think you're gonna have to unmute yourself. It's telling me I can't even unmute you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. No, I don't have any kids.
Okay.
I
Moving forward,
just think it wasn't in the cards for my brother.
and that's okay. I mean, I don't think that.
And that's okay. I mean, I don't think that.
I gotta have to mute you, but I want to talk. I think that's fine. I don't think that kids, define your life. I don't think that kids, like, you have to have kids to say, I've made it, I've done it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that just like I don't think that marriage does that for a person. I think that you have to find what works best for you in your life because you're the only one living it, financing it, and eventually it's going to end, and it's going to be end for you. Like, you know what I mean? So you have to be comfortable with decisions that you made in your life. And I think that, with both of you being in the spot where you don't have kids, it's even better because, you're able to devote your time to each other, to having that focus be on each other and other family members, in the family. This show has been it has been a very, very great show because of Leon and his sister. I think that you guys are going to give others hope. I think that, in the midst of your journey, it's crazy how we can give people hope while going through our own journey, right? And I think that's probably what happened between Leon and I. Leon saw me going through my journey and was like, you know what? I got the strength to go through my journey too. I think I can do this, right? And that you don't have to go through that journey alone because now we have a community. And I think that's one thing, adoptees don't really have is a community. It's not like we get adopted and they're like, all right, we're gonna, there's an adoptee formal or a party or a get together or anything. We're
Hmm.
put in with the general population, trying to relate to the general population and really can't, in some ways. And so that pent up frustration just lives inside of us until we find healthy ways to be able to, get it out of us. But Leon now knows he has a community. Those who are watching knows they have a community. Tina, you have a community. You in this with us, girl, whether you like it or not. Like, whether you in this with us, whether you like it or not. Because again, you live that biological experience of, and you have a brother who was adopted, but again, in a lot of ways, you felt the same thing that adoptees feel. Sorry, y'all, I'm in the dark now. I don't know what happened. But Leon, kind of carry us and lead us to the final thoughts while I get myself together over here.
Well, I want to one thank you, Precious, for allowing me to gratiate myself in your show because you didn't have to allow me to do that. You did it with an open heart. Um, and also thank everybody that has joined us to listen in, and also to thank my sister. It's been a real journey for us both. We don't, you know, whatever the situation is, we can thrive and overcome whatever challenges that we have because at the end of the day, we are blood. I can truly say that. For years, people would say, "Oh, y'all blood." I'll be thinking to myself, like, no, not really. So, once again, thank everybody for joining us. Tina, thank you for sharing all of those things that I had no idea about. Um, and once again, to Precious for allowing me to come up and be a part of something that I think is needed, is required. And like she said, I could listen to these or talk about stories like this all day. like because it's so much nuance into any story where like you could see me and Precious story is totally different. Like I have biracial parents and she doesn't. That's a that's a big key. Um, and so we're just trying to help people, be, more comfortable talking about it. Because, like I said, I never talked about this publicly. Like if I knew you, like yeah, I went, I met my parents, but like I wasn't on a platform talking about, you know, what I experienced. But everything happens for a reason at its time. I met Precious at a time where I probably didn't know I needed it and it came. And so I'm just going to sit in it and see where it takes us.
And we might have to do an adoptee meetup in Jersey. I know somebody who has a whole space, event space, everything. I've been up in there a few times. So we may have to just coordinate something ourselves since the one that we were going to go to was canceled. Hopefully they re-establish a date, but I know that that the coordinator of that organization is going through some things right now and being real.
Mm.
I'm glad that she was able to be real. Sometimes it takes a lot to say that you're going to do something and then have to cancel it. So she must
Yeah.
be going through some real life situations right now.
Hmm.
And so, we extend prayers and thoughts to her. But, sometimes we got to take action ourselves. But I think that will come again, due season, right? There are 5 seasons, and due season is one of them. And I think as we grow this community and we grow those who are sharing and those who are watching and engaging, I'm sure that people, will probably want to travel if it's not too far for them. I think most of our analytics of those who are watching are, more so tri-state area. I think Texas is a lot too.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's just a flight. It's just a flight, come to Jersey for a weekend, have some fun. But we may have to throw our own, adoptees meetup and just start something that we don't have anything like that around here. The adoptees meetup that I saw online was the first one that I've ever seen. So more to
Me
come.
too.
More to come. But I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let Tina, express to us her experience on the show tonight. Again, Tina, thank you so much. You didn't have to. You're welcome here anytime. Thank you so much for engaging in the chat. I saw you last week and I think the week before. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't thank you enough. But again, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to unmute your mic. Okay.
Yeah, I came on here for my brother because I support him. Came on here for my brothers. I support him, and he needed to know the truth. And I don't even know how the truth. And so, and we'll go through this together. So I just wanted him to know that it. I mean, my dad, I had a good life, and but being without him, once you find out you have a sibling, it's hard to go through the rest of your teenage years. And then I wondered. But now I don't have to wonder anymore because I have him in my life, and I'm grateful for that. And I thank everybody for listening to our story. And it's not an easy story to listen to, but we'll get through it.
Yes, yes. Thank you guys for sharing this moment with us. Those who are in the chat, those who are those
Thank
who
you
have
guys for
thank you, thank you.
those who are in the chat.
Because again, I can listen to stories like this all day. We appreciate Leon and his sister Tina, a biological brother and sister who was reunited years later, Leon being adopted, Tina being, staying with the biological parents. And, while the dynamic of families that they both grew up in were different, somehow life brought them right back to each other. Right. I always say that those who are adopted, I think, like God's our father, right? He wants all of his children to come back home and receive him as father. I think that he wants that for us in our natural life too. Like he wants that, like, yes, we were given up for adoption or placed in foster care or placed with different families, but that at the end of the day, I think that, you know, we should know some type of biological connection. Even if it is a sibling, I think, you know, beyond mother and father, I think sibling is the best connection that you can have. Because now I have 6 siblings that, you know, nothing can pull us apart. We might get on each other's nerves. We might not talk for a couple weeks, couple months. You know, we tell each other it like it is, because we siblings, right? I don't want anybody to hurt you. I don't want anybody to take advantage of you. You know, I don't want anyone to even come in between our relationship. But at the end of the day, I'm glad, like I always say, I don't have no friends. I have friends. I have my siblings. Like, my siblings are my friends. Okay. Whether I like them or whether I don't, they are permanent fixed friends. Okay. They came with the entree. Okay. They're not going nowhere. And it's so amazing to know that in, you know, our old age or our older age, right?
Watch it.
In our big age, we can still, you know, cultivate these type of relationships, because some people are just set in their ways and, you know, they're not necessarily open. But in these situations, it's great when you can find a family member who is open, who just wants to be there to say, you know what, if you just need somebody to talk to, you know, again, we don't go. I remember I wrote a letter to my dad, and it was, you know, I'm not looking for anything. I don't need anything from you. I live a great life. You know, my parents are still in my life. I just want to meet you. I just want to know what you look like. I just want to give you a hug, right? Like, there is no bad feelings. You know, whatever happened back when it happened. I can't do anything about it now. We can't take it back. We can't, you know, can't do any of that. But what we can do is live our life abundantly. You know, that's what God wants, abundantly. He wants you to have an abundant life. And an abundant life is knowing your sister and being able to have that connection, knowing your brother and being able to have that connection. Because, you know, 3 a.m., your adoptive parents have gone on, right? Your biological parents have gone on. So now you have each other. Know, and that's just how life goes. And so I'm glad that you both had the opportunity to rekindle and cultivate this relationship. I can't wait to hear about the good stories, the road trips, or just the meetups, whatever it is. I appreciate and I'm honored to be a part of it, and I thank you both. Thank you guys so much for watching. So happy I caught y'all live. Yes, it was a good one tonight. If you haven't, definitely catch the replay. We had some technical difficulty. I mean, my light was going out, child. Look, we got through the storm. Okay, we got through the storm. We had some echoing, but we was gonna get this show done, you know, one way or another. Because just so appreciated to have you here. And in the future, we have, you know, we're lining up guests. We're lining up guests to have on the show. People are getting word of the show. I'm also doing some recruiting. I'm, you know, putting my sales tactics to work. And just reaching out, cold calling, as they would say in the sales world. Just seeing who wants to be a part of it, you know, seeing who wants to share their story, because the more that we open our mouths and we share our story and we're comfortable doing it, it gives others the permission that they don't even know that they don't need, right, to do the same thing, and to feel comfortable and to have a community. So if you know anyone that wouldn't mind sharing their story, definitely direct them our way. I'm Real Precious Official on Instagram. But yeah, we're gonna line them up, and we're gonna have these shows cranking out for y'all. If you're free tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, join us. I have the men's panel. You guys know we don't point fingers, but we do point out behavior. So we will be doing that tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, thank you guys so much. Tina, thank you. Bless you. I hope you have a great evening. And we look forward to seeing you in the chat, you know, down the line, watching the show. And of course, we look forward to the great news. And you guys know what I say, be real with yourself so you can be real with others. If you'd like to support the channel, I greatly appreciate you. The Cash App will be scrolling at the bottom. But guys, definitely have a great night. Again, the Cash App will be scrolling on the bottom once I can get this banner going. Once I can get it going. Chelsea, so good to see you here, love. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Heartlight 333, DD Larson, I see you in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. It's Teresa. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, sis. I appreciate you for being here. Again, if you'd like to support, Cash App is down below, but we're going to get up out of here. We'll be here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. It was a pleasure. You guys have a great evening.
Have a good one.